A single father's hands ripped through twisted metal in a storm, while his daughter watched from a locked car. Inside the wreckage, a dying CEO whispered words that would shatter everything he knew about survival, sacrifice, and second chances. What happened next didn't just save 2 lives, it exposed a truth about power, poverty, and what we owe each other when the mountain falls. This is that story. Before we begin, hit subscribe and stay until the end. You won't believe where this goes. Drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels across the world. Dad, the road is melting. Jack Morrison's hands tightened on the steering wheel. His daughter Emma pressed her face against the rain-streaked window, her breath fogging the glass. She was 7 years old, and she saw things adults tried to ignore. It's just mud, sweetheart. We'll be home soon. But Jack knew better. The mountain road twisted like a snake's spine above the valley, and the rain had been falling for 3 days straight. The kind of rain that loosened roots and erased the difference between solid ground and liquid earth. His construction crew had been sent home early that afternoon. The foreman's voice still echoed in Jack's head. Get off this mountain before it decides to move. Jack worked concrete and rebar 6 days a week. His hands were scarred maps of a life spent building things for other people. Mansions. Office towers. Dreams that belonged to men in suits who never learned his name. He was 34 years old, and he felt 50. Emma's mother had left when the medical bills started piling up when their daughter's asthma turned their savings account into a joke. Now, it was just the 2 of them in a 1-bedroom apartment that smelled like mildew and yesterday's pasta. Daddy, look! Emma pointed ahead. Through the rain, Jack saw brake lights. Red eyes in the storm. A luxury SUV, black and sleek, the kind that cost more than Jack made in 3 years. It had stopped in the middle of the road. Stay in the car, baby. But Dad, lock the doors. I mean it. Jack stepped into the rain, and it hit him like fists. Cold. Angry. The kind of weather that reminded you how small you were. He jogged toward the SUV, his work boots splashing through rivers of mud that hadn't been there an hour ago. The driver's window was down. Inside, a woman in a white blouse and pearl earrings stared at something Jack couldn't see. Ma'am, you okay? She turned. Mid-40s, sharp cheekbones. Eyes that had made boardroom decisions that affected thousands of lives. But right now, those eyes were wide with something Jack recognized. Fear. The road, she whispered. It's moving. Jack looked. 50 feet ahead, the asphalt buckled like a living thing. Cracks spiderwebbed across the surface. Trees on the slope above them swayed their roots, losing purchase. Rocks tumbled down the mountainside, small ones at first, then bigger. Much bigger. Back up. Now. Fast. The woman fumbled with the gear shift. Her hands shook. Jack saw the Rolex on her wrist, the designer bag on the passenger seat. She was someone important. Someone who gave orders instead of taking them. But none of that mattered when the mountain decided to fall. I can't, the car won't. The engine revved, but the wheels spun in mud. The SUV didn't move backward. It slid forward, toward the buckling road, toward the slope that was about to become an avalanche. Jack ran back to his truck. Emma's face appeared in the window, pale and terrified. Dad, what's happening? Stay here. Do not unlock this door. Do not open it for anyone but me. Understand? You're scaring me. I know, baby, I know. But I need you to be brave for 5 minutes. Can you do that? Emma nodded. Her bottom lip trembled. Jack kissed the window where her hand pressed against the glass, then turned and ran back toward the SUV. The woman was out of the car now, yanking at the door handle, trying to grab her bag. Jack reached her just as the sound hit. Not thunder. Worse. The sound of the earth giving up. Leave it! He grabbed her arm. She yanked back. My phone, my laptop, everything's in there. Lady, you're about to be in there if you don't move. The slope above them exploded. Trees, rocks, mud, all of it coming down in a wave that swallowed light and sound. Jack threw the woman toward the shoulder of the road and dove after her. They hit the ground hard. The landslide roared past them, a river of earth and debris that buried the SUV in seconds. The vehicle crumpled like a soda can. The windows shattered. The roof caved in. Then silence. Just rain and the woman's ragged breathing beside him. Jack pushed himself up. His ribs screamed. Blood ran from a cut above his eye. The woman lay on her back, staring at the sky, her white blouse now brown with mud. "You okay?" She didn't answer. Couldn't. Shock did that sometimes. Jack had seen it on job sites when accidents happened. The body kept working, but the mind went somewhere else for a while. He looked back at his truck. Emma's face in the window. She was crying. Jack waved to show her he was alive. She waved back. The woman sat up slowly. Her pearl earrings were gone. Her hair hung in wet ropes. She looked at the place where her SUV had been. Now it was just a hill of mud and broken trees. "I was in there," she whispered. "I was supposed to be in there." "But you're not." She turned to him, really looked at him for the first time, saw the construction logo on his jacket, the concrete dust that never quite washed out of his jeans, the cheap digital watch on his wrist. "You saved my life." Jack shrugged. "Was the right thing to do." "The right thing." She laughed. It sounded broken. "Do you know who I am?" "No, ma'am." "Catherine Sterling. I own Sterling Industries. 12,000 employees. $4 billion in annual revenue. I was driving to a board meeting where I was going to announce layoffs. 300 people. Good people. People with families." Her voice cracked. "I was going to fire them to boost our stock price by 2%. Jack didn't know what to say to that. In his world, you got laid off and you found another job. You didn't philosophize about it. "I need to get my daughter home." He started to stand, but Catherine grabbed his arm. Her grip was stronger than he expected. "What's your name?" "Jack Morrison." "Jack Morrison. I won't forget that." "Don't need you to remember it, ma'am. Just need you to get somewhere safe." He helped her to her feet. She swayed. Possible concussion. Jack knew the signs. He'd had 3 of them. "Can you walk?" "I think so." "My truck's right there. I can drive you down the mountain. There's a hospital in town." Catherine looked at the buried SUV again. "Everything I own is in there. My phone, my wallet, my identity." "You're alive. That's what you own right now." They walked to the truck. Emma unlocked the door and Jack lifted Catherine into the passenger seat. His daughter stared at the muddy woman with wide eyes. "Emma, this is Miss Sterling. She's going to ride with us." "Is she hurt?" "A little bit." "Did you save her daddy?" Jack met Catherine's eyes in the rearview mirror. "Just helped her out of a bad spot." The drive down the mountain took 40 minutes. The road was half washed away in places. Jack's knuckles went white on the steering wheel. Catherine didn't speak. She sat with her arms wrapped around herself, shivering despite the truck's heater. Emma watched her the whole time with that careful way kids have when they know something important is happening, but don't understand what. The hospital parking lot was flooded. Jack helped Catherine out. She could barely stand. A nurse rushed out with a wheelchair. "What happened?" "Landslide," Jack said. "She needs a doctor." They wheeled Catherine toward the emergency entrance. She twisted in the chair, reaching back toward Jack. "Wait, I don't even have your number." "Don't worry about it." "But I need to thank you. I need to—" The automatic doors swallowed her words. Jack stood in the rain, watching her disappear. Emma tugged his jacket. "Are we going home now?" "Yeah, baby. We're going home." The apartment was cold. The heat had been shut off twice this year for late payments. Jack turned on the space heater and made Emma tomato soup from a can. She ate it slowly, still watching him with those careful eyes. "You're bleeding, Daddy." Jack touched his forehead. The cut had stopped bleeding, but it looked ugly. He washed it in the bathroom sink and taped it with a bandage from the dollar store. In the mirror, he looked like what he was. Tired. Broke. Running on fumes. Emma appeared in the doorway in her pajamas. The ones with the cartoon dogs that were 2 sizes too small. Was that lady rich? Yeah, I think so. Why was she driving by herself? Don't rich people have drivers? Jack smiled. His daughter was too smart for her own good. I don't know, sweetheart. Do you think she'll remember you? Probably not. Rich people meet a lot of regular people. Emma hugged his waist. Her head barely reached his ribs. You're not regular, Daddy. You're a hero. Jack's throat tightened. He picked her up, even though she was getting too big for it. Carried her to the mattress they shared in the bedroom, because the couch had broken springs. Story, she asked. Too tired tonight, baby? Just a short one. Please. Jack lay beside her and made up a story about a brave dog who saved a princess from a dragon. Emma fell asleep before he finished. Her breathing evened out. The asthma inhaler sat on the milk crate they used as a nightstand. Jack watched her chest rise and fall. Rise and fall. The most important thing in his world. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Jack almost didn't answer. Probably a bill collector. They called at all hours now. Hello. Mr. Morrison. A woman's voice. Professional. Clipped. This is Amanda Chen, executive assistant to Catherine Sterling. Ms. Sterling would like to see you tomorrow if you're available. She's still at Mercy General Room 412. Jack sat up. Is she okay? Broken arm, 3 cracked ribs, mild concussion. She'll recover, but she's quite insistent about seeing you. I don't know. She said to tell you that she never got to say thank you properly. Jack looked at Emma, at the peeling paint on the walls, at the stack of past due notices on the kitchen counter. What time? Would 11 o'clock work? I'll be there. Jack didn't sleep that night. He lay in the dark, listening to the rain, thinking about the woman in the mudslide. Catherine Sterling. $4 billion in annual revenue. 12,000 employees. She lived in a world so far from his that they might as well be on different planets. But for 5 minutes on a mountain road, they'd been the same. 2 people fighting to stay alive. He thought about her words. I was going to fire 300 people to boost our stock price. The casual cruelty of it. The mathematics of profit that erased faces and names and families. Jack had been laid off 4 times in 10 years. Each time felt like a small death. Each time he dusted himself off and found another job because Emma needed food, and the landlord needed rent, and life didn't stop just because your dignity took a beating. Morning came gray and cold. Jack dropped Emma at school. She kissed his cheek and ran toward the building, her too small backpack bouncing. He watched until she disappeared inside. The hospital smelled like disinfectant and desperation. Jack found room 412, knocked softly. A voice called out, "Come in." Catherine Sterling sat propped up in bed, her left arm in a cast, her face a palette of bruises. But her eyes were clear, sharp. They tracked Jack as he entered and closed the door. You came. You asked me to. Sit, please. Jack sat in the chair by the window. Catherine watched him the way people watch something they're trying to figure out. How's your daughter? She's fine. How'd you know I had a daughter? She was in the truck. Sweet girl. What's her name? Emma. Catherine nodded. Emma, I like that. Strong name. She shifted in the bed and winced. The doctors say I should be dead. The landslide should have crushed me. The statistics were not in my favor. But you're not dead. No, because you pulled me out of that car. Because you risked your life for a stranger. Her voice dropped. Do you know how rare that is? Jack shrugged. Wasn't really thinking about it. Just did what needed doing. Exactly. You just did it. No hesitation, no calculation of personal risk versus potential reward. You saw someone in trouble and you helped. Catherine's eyes went wet. I built my entire career on calculation. Every decision measured, every risk assessed. I forgot what it means to just do the right thing because it's right. Jack didn't know what to say. This felt like a confession, and he wasn't a priest. Catherine reached for a glass of water with her good hand. Took a sip. I want to repay you. You don't owe me anything. I owe you everything. Name your price. Jack stood up. I don't want money. Then what do you want? The question hung in the air. What did Jack Morrison want? He wanted Emma to have a warm bed and 3 meals a day. He wanted to stop choosing between groceries and electricity. He wanted to sleep through the night without dreaming about foreclosure notices. But he couldn't say that. Not to this woman with her $4 billion and her broken arm. I should go. Wait. Catherine's voice cracked like a whip. Sit down, please. Jack sat. I had my assistant look you up. You're 34 years old. You work for Henderson Construction. You make $19 an hour. You have an associate degree from Community College Incomplete. You stopped 2 classes short of finishing because... She paused. Because your daughter was born, and your girlfriend left, and someone had to pay the bills. Jack's jaw tightened. You had no right. You're right. I didn't. But I did it anyway because I needed to understand who you are. And do you know what I found? I'm sure you're going to tell me. I found potential. Raw talent buried under years of survival mode. Your professors from 8 years ago still remember you. They said you were brilliant. They said you could have been an architect if life hadn't gotten in the way. Catherine leaned forward. What if life got out of the way? What are you talking about? I'm talking about a job, a real one, at Sterling Industries, in our architectural division. I'm talking about finishing your degree while you work. I'm talking about health insurance and a salary that doesn't make you choose between food and rent. Jack stood up again. His heart hammered. You don't know me. I know you ran into a landslide to save someone you'd never met. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. Character doesn't design buildings. No, but talent does. And you have it. You just need someone to give you a chance. Catherine's voice softened. Let me give you that chance. Let me be the person who saves you for once. Jack walked to the window, looked out at the parking lot. At his 15-year-old truck with the dent in the fender and the inspection sticker that was 2 months expired. He thought about Emma's pajamas that were too small, about the space heater that barely worked, about the dreams he'd buried so deep he'd forgotten what they looked like. Why? He asked. Why would you do this? Because yesterday I almost died, and the last thought I had was that I'd wasted my life making rich people richer. Because you showed me what it means to be human again. Because I have the power to change someone's life, and for once I want to use it for something good. Jack turned. Catherine Sterling, CEO of Sterling Industries, sat in a hospital bed with tears on her cheeks. I'll think about it, Jack said. Don't think too long. The job offer expires in 48 hours. Jack left the hospital, sat in his truck, put his head on the steering wheel. His phone buzzed. A text from Emma's school. Emma forgot her inhaler. Can you bring it? He drove across town, dropped off the inhaler. Emma waved from the classroom window. Jack waved back. That night, after Emma fell asleep, Jack pulled out his old college notebooks from the closet, flipped through pages of sketches and calculations, buildings he'd dreamed up when he still believed in dreams. His hands traced the lines. He'd forgotten how much he loved this, how good it felt to create instead of just survive. Emma stirred. Daddy, what are you looking at? Old stuff, baby. Go back to sleep. Are those your drawings? Yeah. Emma crawled into his lap, looked at the notebook. They're beautiful. Why did you stop? Because you were born and I needed to work. But you could work and draw, couldn't you? From the mouths of babes. Jack kissed her forehead. Maybe. Maybe I could. That lady from yesterday. She was nice. She looked at you like you were important. I'm not important, Emma. Yes, you are. You're my daddy. Jack held his daughter, made a decision that terrified him, picked up his phone, dialed the number Amanda Chen had called from. Sterling Industries. This is Jack Morrison. I need to speak to Catherine Sterling. One moment. Catherine's voice came through rough with painkillers. Jack, I'll take the job, but I have conditions. Name them. I need hours that let me pick up my daughter from school. I need health insurance that covers her asthma. And I need this to be real. Not charity, not pity. A real job where I earn every dollar. Silence. Then Catherine laughed. It sounded like relief. Deal. Welcome to Sterling Industries, Jack Morrison. Your life just changed. Jack looked at Emma, who was watching him with those two wise eyes. I know, he whispered. I know it did. Jack's first day at Sterling Industries started with a panic attack in the parking garage. He sat in his truck at 6:30 in the morning, hands shaking, staring at the glass tower that stretched 40 stories into the sky. His reflection in the rearview mirror showed a man who didn't belong here. The shirt was borrowed from his cousin. The tie was a clip-on from Walmart. His work boots were the only shoes he owned without holes. His phone buzzed. Emma's voice sleep-rough and worried. Daddy, you forgot to wake me up. Mrs. Chen next door is going to take you to school today, remember? But you always take me. I know, baby, but today's different. Today, Daddy starts his new job. The one with the fancy building. Yeah, that one. Are you scared? Jack closed his eyes. A little bit. It's okay to be scared. You told me that. You said brave people get scared, but they do the thing anyway. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just don't listen. Emma giggled. Go do the thing, Daddy. I love you. Love you too, baby. Jack walked through the revolving doors into a lobby that looked like a museum. Marble floors, waterfall walls, people in suits that cost more than his truck. A security guard stopped him. Can I help you? Jack Morrison. I'm supposed to start today. Architectural division. The guard checked his computer, frowned. You're not in the system. Jack's stomach dropped. There must be a mistake. Catherine Sterling hired me herself. Ms. Sterling doesn't do hiring. HR does hiring. Look, I talked to her 4 days ago. She said, Sir, I'm going to need you to step aside. A voice cut through the lobby. He's with me. Amanda Chen appeared like a sharply dressed miracle. She wore a black suit and an expression that could cut glass. The security guard straightened. Ms. Chen, I didn't realize. Now you do. Mr. Morrison has an executive appointment. I'll escort him up. Amanda turned without waiting for a response. Jack followed her to the elevators. The doors closed. She pressed the button for the 38th floor. You're late. I'm 20 minutes early. At Sterling Industries, early is on time. On time is late. Late is fired. Amanda handed him a manila folder. Your employee packet. Sign everything. Read nothing. We don't have time. I'd like to read, You'll like your paycheck more. Sign. The elevator climbed. Jack's ears popped. He opened the folder. The salary made him dizzy. $65,000 a year. Health insurance, dental, vision. A 401k he didn't understand but knew was important. His hands trembled as he signed his name again and again. Ms. Sterling wants to see you before orientation. She's here. I thought she was still recovering. Amanda smiled. It wasn't warm. Ms. Sterling doesn't recover. She reloads. The elevator opened onto an executive floor that looked like heaven's waiting room. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Art that probably cost more than Jack's entire life. Amanda led him down a hallway to double doors. Wait here. She disappeared inside. Jack stood in the hall drowning in imposter syndrome. This was a mistake. A massive, terrible mistake. He didn't belong here. He should leave before they figured out he was just a construction worker with half a degree and a daughter who needed him to not screw this up. The doors opened. Amanda beckoned. Catherine Sterling sat behind a desk the size of a small car. Her arm was still in a cast, but she wore it like a badge of honor. She stood when Jack entered. "You came. You offered me a job." "People say yes and don't show up all the time. They get cold feet. They decide it's too good to be true." Catherine walked around the desk. "I'm glad you're not one of those people. Can't afford to be. Honesty. I like that. Sit." Jack sat. Catherine perched on the edge of her desk, studying him like a puzzle she was determined to solve. "I'm going to be direct because we don't have much time. You're starting in the architectural division under Marcus Chen. He's brilliant, demanding, and he thinks this is a terrible idea." Jack's stomach lurched. "He doesn't want me here. He doesn't know you. He knows I pulled strings to hire someone without a complete degree and zero corporate experience. He thinks you're a charity case, a pet project." Catherine leaned forward. "Prove him wrong." "How?" "By being better than everyone expects, by working harder than anyone else in that room, by showing them that talent matters more than pedigree." She paused. "And by remembering that I didn't save you from that landslide. You saved me. This is just me returning the favor. I didn't save you so you'd owe me something." "I know. That's why I'm doing it." Amanda reappeared. "Mr. Morrison's orientation starts in 5 minutes." Catherine extended her good hand. Jack shook it. Her grip was firm, certain. "Don't make me regret this." "I'll try not to." "Don't try. Do." The orientation was 3 hours of HR presentations about benefits Jack didn't understand and policies he tried to memorize. 20 new employees sat in the conference room. All of them were younger than Jack. All of them had degrees from schools with fancy names. They wore confidence, like cologne. During the break, a kid who looked 12 introduced himself as Brandon. "What school did you go to?" "Community college. Didn't finish." Brandon's smile flickered. "Oh, that's cool. Non-traditional path." "Something like that." "What's your background?" "Construction. Concrete work mostly." "So you're like coming from the field." "That's interesting. Sterling usually only hires from top-tier programs." Brandon lowered his voice. "Between you and me, I heard someone upstairs pulled strings to get you in. Must be nice having connections." Jack wanted to punch him, wanted to explain that his connection was nearly dying in a landslide. Instead, he smiled. "Yeah, real nice." After orientation, Amanda escorted him to the 32nd floor. The architectural division occupied the entire level. Open workspace, glass offices, drafting tables that looked like they cost more than cars. People moved with purpose, their conversations full of words like parametric design and sustainable integration. Amanda stopped at a glass office in the corner. Inside, a man in his 50s reviewed blueprints with the intensity of a surgeon examining an X-ray. He had silver hair, dark skin, and the kind of presence that made you stand up straighter without meaning to. "Marcus, your new hire." Marcus Chen looked up. His eyes moved over Jack like a scanner cataloging every detail, finding every flaw. "You're Morrison." "Yes, sir." "Don't call me sir. I work for a living." Marcus set down his pen. "Amanda, you can go." She left. The door closed. Jack stood there feeling like he was back in the principal's office. "I didn't ask for you. Want you to know that up front." "Understood." "Catherine called me at midnight 4 days ago. Told me she was sending me someone special. Someone who saved her life." Marcus picked up a folder from his desk. "Your transcripts. 2 years at Metro Community. Incomplete. Your professors gave you high marks, said you had an eye for design. That was 8 years ago. What have you been doing since surviving?" Marcus's expression didn't change. "Everyone's surviving. I asked what you've been doing." "Pouring concrete, laying rebar, building other people's designs." "So you know construction." "That's good. Means you understand how things actually get built. Most architects don't. They draw pretty pictures and get angry when reality interferes." Marcus closed the folder. "Here's the situation. I run a team of 12. All of them have master's degrees. All of them have been here at least 3 years. You're going to walk in there with half a degree and a referral from the CEO. They're going to hate you. Great. I'm not finished. They're going to test you. Question your work. Dismiss your ideas. And if you can't handle it, if you run crying to Catherine Sterling every time someone hurts your feelings, I will personally escort you out of this building. Jack met his eyes. I grew up on job sites where guys made fun of your mother before coffee break. I raised a daughter by myself while working 60-hour weeks. I think I can handle some architects who don't like me. Marcus smiled. First time. It was quick but real. Maybe you can. We'll see. He opened his office door. Everyone listen up. The workspace went quiet. 12 faces turned toward them. This is Jack Morrison. He's joining the team as a junior designer. He's got a construction background and an incomplete degree. Catherine Sterling personally requested his placement. Make of that what you will. Marcus gestured to an empty desk near the windows. That's yours. Your first assignment is on the desk. Preliminary sketches for a community center in the 5th Ward. Budgets tight, timelines tighter. Due Friday. Questions. Jack had 1,000 questions. No, sir. I mean no. Good. Get to work. Jack walked to his desk, felt every eye on him, sat down. The assignment brief was 3 pages long. Budget $2 million. Timeline 6 months. Client requirements. Multi-purpose space. Computer lab, gym, commercial kitchen. Existing structure. Abandoned grocery store. 50 years old. Structural issues unknown. A woman appeared beside his desk. Early 30s. Red hair, suspicious eyes. I'm Sarah Winters, senior designer. I've been working on the 5th Ward project for 3 months. Jack Morrison, junior designer. Just started today. I know who you are. Everyone knows. The CEO's pet project. Sarah dropped a 3-inch binder on his desk. My research. Site surveys, zoning requirements, community input. 3 months of work. Look it over before you start doodling and wasting everyone's time. She walked away. Jack opened the binder. Page after page of meticulous documentation. Sarah Winters was thorough, but her designs were cold, clinical. She'd created a facility that met every requirement and had zero soul. Jack pulled out a pencil, started sketching. The abandoned grocery store had good bones, high ceilings, natural light from clerestory windows, loading dock that could become a community entrance. He worked through lunch. Didn't notice the afternoon sliding away until someone cleared their throat. Brandon from orientation stood there with another new hire. Dude, we're grabbing drinks after work. You want to come? Jack checked his phone. 4:30. Can't. Gotta pick up my daughter. You have a kid? Yeah. How old? 7. Brandon exchanged a look with his friend. That's cool. Maybe another time. They left. Jack kept drawing. The community center took shape on paper. Not a facility. A gathering place. Something that honored the neighborhood instead of gentrifying it. He sketched in a mural wall. Community garden. Flexible spaces that could serve multiple purposes. It's 5 o'clock. Jack looked up. Marcus stood over his desk. Sorry, I was just... Don't apologize for working, but if you have somewhere to be, go. Family first. Jack gathered his sketches. Marcus's eyes tracked to the drawings. Can I see those? Jack hesitated. They're rough, just preliminary ideas. Marcus picked up the sketches, studied them. His face revealed nothing. These are interesting. Sarah's going to hate them. Why? Because they're better than hers. Marcus handed them back. Don't apologize for being good at this, and don't let anyone make you small because you didn't take the traditional path. Talent is talent. Jack drove across town to Emma's school. She ran to the truck with her backpack bouncing. How was it? Tell me everything. Jack pulled into traffic. It was scary and hard, and I think most people there don't want me around. But you stayed. Yeah, I stayed. Then you won. That night, after Emma fell asleep, Jack sat at the tiny kitchen table with his sketches spread out. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hello. It's Marcus Chen. You left before I could give you the rest of the assignment details. Oh, sorry. My daughter. I know, family first. I called because I wanted to tell you something off the record. Marcus paused. Catherine Sterling saved my life 15 years ago. Different circumstances. But she saw something in me when no one else did. Gave me a chance. I've spent every day since trying to earn it. Jack didn't know what to say. What I'm telling you is that I know what it feels like to be the charity case. The token hire. The one everyone whispers about. Marcus's voice hardened. Don't let them be right. Be so good, they have to respect you. I'm trying. Don't try. Do. Bring those sketches to the team meeting Thursday. We present to the client Friday. Sarah's going to push back. Stand your ground. What if I'm wrong? Then you'll be wrong with conviction. That's better than being right and apologizing for it. Marcus hung up. Jack stared at his sketches, saw all the flaws, all the ways they could fail, but he also saw possibility. Beauty in simplicity. Function meeting form. The kind of design that served people instead of egos. He worked until 2 in the morning. Refined the sketches, added dimensions, calculated costs. When he finally crawled into bed beside Emma, his hands ached and his eyes burned, but something in his chest felt alive for the first time in years. Thursday morning came too fast. Jack wore the same borrowed shirt, the same clip-on tie. Sarah Winters saw him coming, and her smile was sharp as broken glass. Morning, Morrison. Ready to present? As ready as I'll be. Good, because Marcus moved you to the top of the agenda. He wants to see your ideas first. Jack's stomach flipped. First? Yep. Before mine. Before anyone's. Guess the pet project gets special treatment. The conference room filled with Marcus's team. 12 designers who'd earned their seats through years of work and expensive educations. Jack stood at the front with his sketches pinned to the board. His hands shook. He shoved them in his pockets. Marcus entered last, sat at the head of the table. Morrison, you're up. Jack cleared his throat. The 5th Ward Community Center. The client wants a facility. I think they need a home. He walked them through his vision. The abandoned grocery store transformed into a space that served the neighborhood's actual needs. Flexible rooms that could host everything from job fairs to quinceañeras. A commercial kitchen that local caterers could rent. A computer lab that doubled as a classroom. Green space where kids could play and families could gather. Every detail designed to empower instead of impose. When he finished, the room was silent. Sarah spoke first. It's ambitious, probably over budget, and frankly, it's not what the client asked for. Jack met her eyes. The client asked for a multi-purpose facility. I gave them one, just with more purpose. The structural challenges alone are solvable. I worked construction for 10 years. I know what buildings can handle. Another designer jumped in. The timeline's aggressive for this scope. Only if we over-engineer it. Simple doesn't mean cheap. It means smart. They picked at his ideas for 20 minutes. Jack defended every choice, cited costs, explained structural decisions, refused to back down. When the questions finally stopped, Marcus leaned back in his chair. Sarah, your presentation. Sarah's designs were technically perfect, every requirement met, every code satisfied. But watching her present felt like reading an instruction manual. Functional, forgettable, safe. When she finished, Marcus looked at the team. Thoughts? The room erupted. Half the designers preferred Sarah's approach. The other half saw merit in Jack's vision. Voices overlapped. Arguments built on arguments. Jack sat there drowning in imposter syndrome, certain he'd overstepped. Marcus raised his hand. Silence fell. We're presenting both to the client tomorrow. Let them decide. He looked at Jack. Be ready to defend your work. That night, Jack couldn't eat. Emma noticed. You're worried about tomorrow. How do you always know? Because you get quiet and you forget to chew your food. Emma pushed her plate aside. What if they don't like your ideas? Then I was wrong and I'll do better next time. But what if you're right and they don't see it? Jack pulled her into his lap. Then I was right, and that's enough. You can't control what other people think, baby. You can only control what you do. Is that why you saved that lady? Even though you didn't know if it would work? Yeah, I guess so. Emma kissed his cheek. Then tomorrow, you do the same thing. You save your idea, even if you're scared. Friday morning, Jack wore his borrowed shirt for the third time. Catherine Sterling's assistant called while he was driving. Ms. Sterling wants to observe the client presentation. She'll be in the room. Jack's hands tightened on the steering wheel. She doesn't need to do that. She knows. She's doing it anyway. The client meeting room was on the 40th floor. The Fifth Ward Community Council sent 3 representatives. Pastor Williams, who looked like he'd seen every promise broken. Mrs. Rodriguez, who ran the neighborhood watch. And Darius, a 20-year-old community organizer with suspicious eyes. Catherine Sterling sat in the back corner. Marcus made introductions. Sarah presented first. Her designs were clean and professional on the projector screen. The clients nodded politely, asked basic questions, looked bored. Then Jack stood up. I grew up in a neighborhood like the Fifth Ward, where the buildings were newer but the hope was old, where people worked hard and still couldn't get ahead. He pulled up his first sketch. This isn't about giving you a facility. It's about giving you tools to build what comes next. He walked them through everything. The flexible spaces, the community kitchen, the garden, the mural wall where local artists could work. Pastor Williams leaned forward. Mrs. Rodriguez's eyes brightened. Darius stopped looking suspicious. When Jack finished, Pastor Williams spoke first. How much commit? 1.8 million, under budget, with contingencies built in. Timeline? 6 months. But we phase it so you can use parts of the building while we finish others. You're not locked out while construction happens. Mrs. Rodriguez raised her hand. Who designs the mural? You do. We provide the wall. The community provides the art. Darius nodded slowly. This feels like it's for us, not at us. Pastor Williams looked at Marcus. We want his design. Sarah's face went carefully blank. The room held its breath. Marcus smiled. Then that's what you'll get. After the clients left, Catherine stopped Jack in the hallway. That was impressive. Thank you. Don't thank me. You earned it. She paused. Marcus told me Sarah's been working on that project for 3 months. You beat her in 4 days. I got lucky. No. You were better. There's a difference. Catherine's voice softened. How's Emma? She's good. Worried about me. Smart girl. You should listen to her. Catherine turned to go, then stopped. Jack. The reason I hired you wasn't charity. It was investment. You're going to be someone important here. I can feel it. Jack drove home with those words ringing in his ears. Emma was waiting on the apartment steps with Mrs. Chen. Did you win? Jack picked her up and spun her around. We won, baby. We actually won. I knew you would, Daddy. You build things for hearts. That night, Jack's phone rang. His cousin, the one who'd loaned him the shirt. Hey man, I need that shirt back. Got a job interview Monday. Jack looked at the shirt hanging on the bathroom door, worn thin from 3 days of nervous sweat and borrowed confidence. I'll bring you 2 new ones. Better ones. My treat. You get a raise or something. Something like that. Thanks for believing in me. Always do, Jackie. Always do. Jack lay in bed beside Emma, listening to her breathe. His phone glowed with an email from Marcus. Client approved your design. Construction starts in 3 weeks. You'll be lead designer. Don't screw it up. lead designer. 3 weeks ago, he'd been pouring concrete. Now, he was designing buildings. The whiplash was dizzying, terrifying, thrilling. Emma stirred. "Daddy, are we going to be okay?" Jack kissed her forehead. "Yeah, baby, I think we are." "Good. Because I like when you smile. You haven't smiled like this in forever." Jack realized she was right. Somewhere between the landslide and this moment, he'd remembered what hope felt like. What it meant to build something that mattered. To use his hands and his mind for creation instead of just survival. "Go to sleep, Emma. Love you, Daddy. Love you too, baby. More than anything." Outside, the city hummed with its million stories. Jack's was just one. But for the first time in years, it felt like it was his to write. The construction site smelled like sawdust and possibility. Jack stood in the gutted shell of the old grocery store with blueprints in one hand and his phone in the other. Emma's school had called twice. He'd missed both times. "Mr. Morrison, we need a decision on the HVAC placement." The foreman, a guy named Rico, who Jack had worked with 3 years ago, pointed at the ceiling. Jack looked up, saw the problem immediately. "Move it 6 feet west. Otherwise, you'll block the natural light from the clerestory windows." Rico squinted. "That'll add 2 days to the schedule. Then we work weekends. The light matters more than the timeline." "You're the boss." Those words still felt foreign. Jack Morrison, boss. Lead designer. The guy making decisions that affected budgets and timelines and whether this building would actually serve the people it was meant for. His phone buzzed again. The school. Jack's chest tightened. "I need 5 minutes." He stepped outside into November cold and called back. The school secretary answered. "Mr. Morrison, Emma had an asthma attack during PE. She's okay now, but we need you to pick her up." Jack's world tilted. "I'm on my way." He found Marcus in the site trailer reviewing structural drawings. "I have to go. Emma's sick." Marcus looked up. "Go. Family first. But the HVAC decision, I'll handle it. Go." Jack drove 20 minutes across town, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. The school nurse's office was painted cheerful yellow, but Emma looked small and scared in the plastic chair. Her inhaler sat on the desk beside her. "Hey, baby." She ran to him. Jack caught her, felt her chest still working too hard to pull air. "I'm sorry, Daddy. I tried to tell the teacher I couldn't run today, but she said everyone has to participate." Jack's jaw clenched. He carried Emma to the truck and buckled her in. Drove to the emergency clinic because their regular doctor was booked 3 weeks out. The waiting room was full. Jack filled out forms he'd memorized years ago. Insurance card that actually worked now. No more choosing between the copay and groceries. A nurse called them back after an hour. The doctor was younger than Jack, with kind eyes and a stethoscope that probably cost more than Jack's first car. "She'll be fine. The inhaler worked, but these attacks are happening more frequently according to her chart." "I know." "Have you considered seeing a specialist, a pediatric pulmonologist, could help manage her condition better?" Jack had considered it, for years, but specialists cost money and time and required insurance that covered more than just emergencies. "I'll look into it." The doctor scribbled on a prescription pad. "This is a referral. Dr. Sarah Chen at Children's Hospital. She's excellent. Tell her I sent you." Jack took the paper, read the name twice. Chen. Like Marcus. Like Amanda. This city was smaller than he thought. Emma fell asleep in the truck on the way home. Jack carried her up 3 flights of stairs to their apartment, tucked her into bed, sat beside her and watched her breathe. Each inhale and exhale a small miracle he'd never take for granted. His phone buzzed. Catherine Sterling. "Jack Marcus told me about Emma. Is she okay?" "Yeah, just an asthma attack. Happens sometimes. I'd like to help. I know a pulmonologist. I have a referral, but thank you." Silence. Then Catherine's voice, softer than he'd heard it. "You're allowed to accept help you know. That's not weakness. I know. I'm just not used to it. Get used to it. You work for me now. My people take care of each other. After she hung up, Jack sat in the dark apartment and let himself feel what he'd been holding back for weeks. Terror. Gratitude. The crushing weight of responsibility. He'd gambled everything on this job. On Catherine's faith in him. On the idea that he could be more than a guy who mixed concrete and collected paychecks. But what if he failed? What if the community center flopped? What if he couldn't hack it in a world of architects who'd spent 6 years learning what he was making up as he went along? Emma stirred. Daddy? Right here, baby. Are you crying? Jack wiped his eyes. Just tired. Liar. She sat up, her hair stuck up in 7 directions. You're scared. I can tell. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just forget to notice. Emma crawled into his lap, even though she was getting too big for it. Is it the building? It's everything. The building your asthma trying to be good at a job where everyone thinks I don't belong. Do you think you belong? Jack thought about that. About his sketches that had beaten Sarah's. About the clients who'd chosen his vision. About Marcus calling him at midnight to give advice. About Catherine Sterling betting her reputation on a construction worker with an incomplete degree. I think I'm starting to. Then that's all that matters. The people who don't think you belong are just scared you're better than them. Jack laughed despite everything. Where do you get this stuff? I listen. You'd be surprised what you learn when adults forget you're in the room. Emma yawned. Can we have pancakes tomorrow? We can have pancakes tonight if you want. Really? Really? They made pancakes at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday. Emma poured the batter in wobbly circles while Jack flipped them. They ate at the kitchen table that wobbled because one leg was shorter than the others. It was the best meal Jack could remember. His phone rang. Sarah Winters. We have a problem with the Fifth Ward project. Jack's stomach dropped. What kind of problem? The kind where the city inspector flagged our permits. Something about the structural modifications not meeting code. Marcus wants you at the office first thing tomorrow. She hung up before Jack could respond. Emma watched him with worried eyes. Is it bad? I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out. You always do. Jack showed up at Sterling Industries at 6 a.m. Marcus was already in his office, blueprints spread across every surface. The inspector says we can't remove the load-bearing walls where you planned the open gathering space. Says the building can't support it. Jack studied the plans. That's not true. I did the calculations. The existing columns can handle the redistribution if we add steel reinforcement. Show me. Jack grabbed a pencil. Drew on the margins of the blueprint. Showed the load paths, the transfer beams, the way the structure could open up without compromising integrity. Marcus watched in silence. This is solid work. Then why did the inspector flag it? Because you're new and he doesn't trust you, or because someone with a grudge made a call. Marcus met Jack's eyes. Welcome to the politics of architecture. Your designs don't just compete with other firms. They compete with egos and agendas and people who don't like change. What do? We fight. You present your calculations to the inspector. You show him you know what you're talking about. And if he still won't approve it, we go over his head. The meeting with the inspector was scheduled for Friday. Jack spent 3 days rechecking every calculation, every load transfer, every stress point. He barely slept, barely ate. Emma brought him sandwiches he forgot to finish. Thursday night, Jack's phone rang at 11 p.m. Catherine Sterling. I heard about the permit issue. News travels fast. I make it my business to know what's happening in my company. Are you ready for tomorrow? I think so. You think so, or you know so. Jack looked at the calculations spread across his kitchen table. 3 days of work. Every number checked and rechecked. Every assumption verified. I know so. Good, because I'll be there. You don't have to. Yes, I do. This is your first major project, your first real test. I need to see how you handle pressure." The inspector's office was in a municipal building that smelled like old coffee and bureaucratic defeat. Jack walked in with his portfolio, his calculations, and Catherine Sterling 3 steps behind him. The inspector, a man named Horvath with a mustache and a bad attitude, looked up from his desk. "Ms. Sterling, didn't expect to see you here." "Mr. Morrison is my employee. I support my people." Horvath's eyes moved to Jack. "You're the one who designed the 5th Ward Center." "Yes, sir. Your plans show removing load-bearing walls. That's a code violation." Jack opened his portfolio. "The walls we're removing are non-structural. The actual load-bearing elements are these columns here and here. We're adding steel reinforcement to handle the redistribution. All calculations are here." He spread the documents across Horvath's desk. The inspector leafed through them, his expression giving nothing away. "These calculations assume the existing concrete is at full strength. Do you have core samples to verify that?" Jack's heart sank. He didn't have core samples. The budget didn't allow for them. "No, sir. But the building passed inspection when it was constructed 50 years ago." 50 years ago. Concrete degrades, rebar corrodes. Without core samples, these calculations are guesses. Catherine spoke up. "How much would core samples cost? 15,000, maybe 20. "Do it. Bill Sterling Industries directly." Horvath looked surprised. "That'll add 3 weeks to your timeline. Then we'll work faster on the back end. Mr. Morrison's design is sound. We'll prove it." The inspector studied Catherine, then Jack, then the calculations. "Fine. Get me the core samples. If they show the concrete is sound, I'll approve your permits." Outside, Jack leaned against the building and tried to remember how to breathe. Catherine stood beside him, checking her phone. $20,000. That's not pocket change. "It's necessary. I believe in your design. But belief doesn't pass inspections. Data does. What if the core samples show the concrete is degraded? Then we redesign. We adapt. That's what architects do." Catherine looked at him. "You thought I'd pull funding after one obstacle. I thought you might regret hiring me." Jack Morrison. "I've made exactly 2 decisions in my life I'm absolutely certain were correct. The first was starting Sterling Industries. The second was hiring you." She smiled. "Don't make me regret the second one." The core samples came back 10 days later. The concrete was sound. Better than expected, actually. Horvath approved the permits without another word. Construction resumed. Jack threw himself into the project like a man possessed. He was on site every morning at 6. Stayed until the workers left. Checked every detail, every joint, every finish. Marcus called him obsessive. Sarah called him neurotic. Emma called him Dad, and that was enough. The community center started to take shape. Walls came down. Light flooded in. The space opened up exactly the way Jack had envisioned. Pastor William stopped by one afternoon and stood in the middle of the empty room. "This is going to change everything." "It's just a building." "No, it's a promise that someone saw us. Someone cared enough to build something beautiful for people who usually get whatever's cheapest and fastest." The pastor's eyes went wet. "Thank you." Jack didn't know what to say. He'd spent years building things that enriched other people. Mansions for executives. Office towers for corporations. This was different. This meant something. December brought snow and complications. The commercial kitchen's ventilation system cost twice the estimate. The computer lab's electrical work revealed old wiring that had to be replaced. The budget hemorrhaged money. Jack lay awake at night doing math that never quite added up. He was at the site on a Saturday morning when Catherine showed up in jeans and a Sterling Industries jacket. "You're working weekends now." Jack looked up from the floor plan. "We're behind schedule and over budget. If I don't figure out how to make up time and save money, this project fails." "It's not going to fail." "You don't know that." Catherine walked through the space, ran her hand along the new drywall, looked up at the exposed ductwork Jack had decided to leave visible to save on ceiling costs. "This is good work, honest work. It's going to serve people for 50 years. She turned to him. "You know what I was thinking about driving over here? How much money you've wasted on me. I was thinking about the landslide, about how you didn't hesitate, didn't calculate the risk. You just did what needed doing." Catherine's voice got quiet. "That's who you are. The guy who runs toward problems instead of away from them. That's why this project won't fail. Because you won't let it." "What if running toward problems isn't enough?" "Then you run faster." Jack's phone buzzed. Emma's school. Again. He answered, his chest already tightening. "Mr. Morrison, Emma's having another attack. We called an ambulance." The world stopped. Jack ran for his truck. Catherine followed. "I'm driving. You're in no shape." They made it to the hospital in 12 minutes. Jack burst through the emergency room doors and found Emma in a bed, oxygen mask on her face, eyes wide with fear. He grabbed her hand. "I'm here, baby. I'm here." The doctor was the same one from before. She looked at Emma's chart and frowned. "This is the third major attack in 2 months. We need to admit her overnight for observation. And you really need to see that specialist." Jack nodded. Couldn't speak. Catherine appeared beside him. "I'll call Dr. Chen, the pulmonologist. She'll see Emma tomorrow." "I can't afford—" "Your insurance covers it. I made sure of that when I hired you. The best insurance Sterling offers." Catherine squeezed his shoulder. "Let me help." They admitted Emma, gave her a room with cartoon characters on the walls and a TV that got channels Jack couldn't afford at home. He sat beside her bed all night watching her sleep, counting her breaths. Catherine left and came back with coffee and sandwiches Jack didn't eat. She didn't try to make conversation, just sat in the other chair working on her laptop, being present without being intrusive. Around 3 a.m., Emma woke up. "Daddy." "Right here." "I'm scared." "I know, me too. But I'm going to be okay, right?" Jack looked at his daughter. 7 years old. Too smart for her own good. Too brave for this world. He thought about all the times he'd nearly lost her. All the nights he'd stayed awake, counting her breaths. All the fear he'd swallowed so she wouldn't see it. "Yeah, baby, you're going to be okay, I promise." Catherine looked up from her laptop. Their eyes met. She nodded once. A promise between adults. We'll make sure of it. Dr. Sarah Chen came the next morning. She was Marcus's sister. Same sharp eyes, same no-nonsense demeanor. She examined Emma thoroughly, asked 100 questions, reviewed years of medical records on her tablet. She needs a comprehensive treatment plan. Different medications, regular monitoring, lifestyle adjustments. This is manageable, but it requires commitment and resources. I have resources now. Good. Because Emma's a fighter. With the right support, she can live a completely normal life. Dr. Chen smiled at Emma. You like gymnastics? I've never tried. Well, once we get your asthma under control, maybe you should. You've got the build for it. Emma's eyes lit up. Jack felt something crack in his chest. Hope. Real hope. Not the desperate kind that's just denial wearing a costume. The kind that's built on doctors who know their stuff and insurance that actually works and a job that pays enough to make choices instead of just surviving. They discharged Emma that afternoon with prescriptions and a follow-up appointment and instructions Jack memorized word for word. Catherine drove them home. Take Monday off. Stay with Emma. Make sure she's settled. I can't. The project will survive one day without you. Your daughter needs you more than that building does. Jack carried Emma up 3 flights of stairs, put her to bed, sat beside her until she fell asleep. His phone buzzed. Marcus. Catherine told me about Emma. My sister's the best. Emma's in good hands. Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank Catherine. She called Sarah personally, pulled strings to get Emma seen immediately. That's what she does for people she believes in. After Marcus hung up, Jack sat in the dark apartment and felt the weight of debt that couldn't be measured in money. Catherine Sterling had given him a job, health insurance, a chance to be more than he'd been, and now she'd called in favors to help his daughter. How did you repay someone for that? How did you prove you were worth the investment? The answer came Monday morning when Jack showed up at the construction site at 5 a.m. instead of staying home. Emma was fine. Mrs. Chen next door was watching her, and Jack had work to do. The community center was 60% complete. The bones were solid. The systems were going in, but it still looked like a construction site instead of a promise. Jack walked through the space seeing what it could be, what it needed to be. Rico found him in the main hall. Morrison, thought you were taking the day off. Changed my mind. We need to talk about the timeline. We're 2 weeks behind. Then we work smarter. Double shifts on the critical path items. Overlap trades where we can. I'll redesign the non-essential details to save time. That's going to cost overtime. Then it costs overtime. This building opens on time. I don't care what we have to do. Rico grinned. 3 years ago I told you you'd make a good foreman someday. I was wrong. You're better than that. Jack spent 16 hours on site that day, redesigning details, coordinating trades, solving problems before they became crises. He got home after Emma was asleep, found a note on the kitchen table in her wobbly handwriting. Daddy, I'm proud of you. Even when you're not here, I know you're building something important. Love, Emma. P.S. We need milk. Jack read it 3 times. Put it in his wallet where he kept the only photo he had of Emma's mother. Reminders of what mattered, what he was fighting for. The weeks blurred together. Christmas came and went. Jack bought Emma a gymnastics class package with his first real bonus check. Watched her face light up like the sky on the 4th of July. She started training twice a week. Her asthma, properly managed, now barely bothered her. The community center neared completion. The walls were painted in colors the neighborhood had chosen. The mural wall was ready for local artists. The kitchen gleamed with commercial equipment. The computer lab had 30 stations loaded with software for job training and homework help. Jack walked through it one evening after the workers had left. Saw his vision made real. Concrete and steel and glass transformed into hope. Pastor Williams was right. This wasn't just a building. It was a promise kept. His phone rang. Catherine. The mayor wants to do the ribbon-cutting ceremony. 2 weeks from Saturday. Major press coverage. You'll need to speak. Me, I'm not a public speaker. You're the lead designer. Your name goes on this building. Your story matters. What story? Construction worker gets lucky. No. Construction worker saves a life and gets his own life saved in return. Community builder who actually came from a community. The American dream that people keep saying is dead, but you're living proof it's not. Catherine's voice hardened with emotion. Tell that story, Jack. People need to hear it. 2 weeks. Jack had 2 weeks to figure out how to stand in front of cameras and crowds and explain why this building mattered. Why architecture wasn't just about design. It was about dignity. About seeing people as human beings instead of statistics. About building spaces that served instead of exploited. He wrote speeches and threw them away. Practiced in the mirror and hated every word. Emma listened to version after version and finally held up her hand. Stop trying to sound smart. Just tell the truth. What truth? That you built this building for people like us. People who need something beautiful in their lives because everything else is hard. Jack looked at his daughter. 7 years old. Wiser than he'd ever be. When did you get so smart? Emma grinned. I've always been smart. You just finally started listening. The morning of the ribbon-cutting ceremony, Jack stood in his bathroom staring at a suit he'd bought 3 days ago. First suit he'd ever owned. The salesman had assured him it fit perfectly, but Jack felt like a kid playing dress-up in his father's clothes. Emma knocked on the door. Daddy, you're going to be late. I know. Are you scared? Terrified. She pushed open the door, wore her new dress, the blue one with white flowers that she'd picked out herself. Her inhaler was clipped to a little purse Catherine had sent over. Emma looked at Jack and her face got serious. "You look like someone important." "I'm not important." "Yes, you are. You just keep forgetting." She straightened his tie even though it was already straight. "Now let's go before Mrs. Chen eats all the cookies she's supposed to be saving for after." The Fifth Ward Community Center stood finished and gleaming in February sunshine. A stage had been erected out front. Chairs filled with community members, city officials, and reporters. Jack's hands shook as Catherine met him backstage. "You have your speech." Jack patted his pocket. The paper was there. 3 paragraphs Emma had helped him write. Simple words. True words. "Good. You're going on after the mayor and Pastor Williams." Catherine adjusted his lapel. "You're going to do great." "How do you know?" "Because you don't care about impressing anyone. You care about honoring the people this building serves. That authenticity is going to cut through every political speech they've heard this year." The ceremony started. The mayor talked about economic development and community investment. Used words like synergy and paradigm. Pastor Williams spoke about faith and perseverance, about a neighborhood that refused to be forgotten. Then Catherine stepped to the microphone. "6 months ago, I nearly died on a mountain road. A stranger pulled me from a landslide and saved my life. That stranger is here today. Jack Morrison, lead designer of this community center." Jack's stomach dropped. This wasn't part of the plan. Catherine wasn't supposed to tell that story. Jack was a construction worker, a single father working 60-hour weeks to support his daughter. He had every reason to drive past that landslide, to keep himself safe. But he didn't. He ran toward danger because someone needed help. Catherine's voice cracked slightly. That's who he is. The man who runs toward problems instead of away from them. The man who builds solutions instead of just identifying issues. And that's why this building exists. Because Jack Morrison saw a neighborhood that needed something beautiful, and he built it. The crowd applauded. Catherine gestured for Jack to join her. He walked to the podium on legs that felt like water, looked out at hundreds of faces, saw Emma in the front row giving him a thumbs up, saw Rico and his construction crew, saw Marcus and Amanda, saw Mrs. Rodriguez and Darius and dozens of Fifth Ward residents who'd watched this building transform over 6 months. Jack pulled out his speech. The paper trembled in his hands. He cleared his throat. "I'm not good at speeches. I'm better with blueprints and concrete. But my daughter told me to just tell the truth, so that's what I'm going to do." He folded the paper and put it away. Decided to trust his gut instead of his script. "I grew up in a neighborhood like this one, where people worked hard and still couldn't get ahead, where the buildings were functional but not beautiful, where every space felt like it was designed for someone else's vision of what poor people needed." Jack's voice steadied. "When Catherine Sterling gave me this project, she asked what I saw. I saw my childhood. I saw my daughter's future. I saw people who deserved more than just functional, who deserved beauty and dignity and spaces that said, 'You matter.'" He gestured toward the building behind him. "This isn't my building, it's yours. Every decision was made with one question: does this serve the people who'll use it? The commercial kitchen isn't just for cooking classes. It's for the woman who wants to start a catering business but can't afford commercial space. The computer lab isn't just for homework. It's for the guy who needs to learn new skills because his factory closed. The gathering hall isn't just for meetings. It's for quinceañeras and graduation parties and all the moments that make a community more than just people living near each other." Mrs. Rodriguez was crying. Pastor Williams nodded. Darius had his phone up recording. "6 months ago, I was pouring concrete for other people's dreams. Today I'm standing here because someone believed I could do more. Catherine Sterling didn't just give me a job. She gave me back a part of myself I thought was gone forever." Jack's throat tightened. "So this building isn't just about architecture, it's about second chances. It's about what happens when someone sees potential instead of just circumstances. It's about building hope, one brick at a time. He stepped back. The applause was thunderous. Emma ran up on stage and hugged him. Jack lifted her up even though she was too big for it, whispered in her ear, "How'd I do?" "You told the truth. That's all that matters." Catherine cut the ribbon. The crowd surged forward to tour the building. Jack walked through with Emma on his shoulders, watching people react to spaces he'd designed. Kids ran through the gym. Adults examined the kitchen equipment. Teenagers claimed computers. Pastor Williams found Jack in the gathering hall. "This is sacred work you've done here. It's just architecture. No, it's witness. It's testimony that someone saw us and cared enough to build something that honors who we are." The pastor gripped Jack's shoulder. "You changed this neighborhood's story. That's sacred." The rest of the day blurred. Handshakes and photos and interviews Jack stumbled through. A reporter from the city paper asked about his background. Jack told her about the landslide, about construction work, about Emma. She wrote it all down with eager eyes. "This is a great story. Single dad saves CEO, gives him a chance, he designs award-worthy building. It's very feel-good." Jack bristled. "It's not a feel-good story. It's just what happened. But you have to admit it's remarkable." "What's remarkable is that it took a landslide for someone to notice I had skills worth developing. What's remarkable is that there are thousands of people like me who never get that chance. This story shouldn't be exceptional. It should be normal." The reporter stopped writing, looked at him differently. "Can I quote you on that?" "Yeah, you can." That evening, Jack took Emma to their favorite diner. The one with the torn vinyl booths, and the waitress who knew Emma liked her pancakes with extra butter. They slid into their usual spot. "You were famous today," Jack laughed. "For about 5 minutes. Still counts." Emma drowned her pancakes in syrup. "Are you happy, Daddy?" "What kind of question is that?" "A real one. Are you happy?" Jack thought about it. 6 months ago, he'd been exhausted and broke, and terrified. Now he had a salary, health insurance, a job that used his mind instead of just his back. Emma was healthy. They'd moved into a 2-bedroom apartment with heat that actually worked. He'd bought groceries yesterday without checking his bank account first. "Yeah, baby, I'm happy. Are you?" "I'm proud. That's better than happy." "Proud of what?" "Of you, of me, of us." Emma took a huge bite of pancakes. "We're doing good, Daddy. We're actually doing good." Jack's phone buzzed. Marcus. "The article hits online tomorrow. Print edition Sunday. Get ready for attention." "What kind of attention?" "The kind where other firms try to poach you, where speaking requests come in, where your life stops being private." Marcus paused. "Also, Catherine wants to see you Monday morning, 9 sharp. Don't be late." Jack hung up. Emma watched him with concerned eyes. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. Just work stuff." "You're lying. You get a wrinkle between your eyebrows when you lie." Jack rubbed his face. "How do you know these things?" "I pay attention. So what's actually wrong?" "I think things are about to change. Again. I'm not sure I'm ready." Emma put down her fork. "Daddy, you pulled a lady out of a landslide. You designed a whole building. You stood on a stage today and gave a speech that made grown-ups cry. I think you're ready for anything." The article went viral. By Sunday morning, Jack's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Friend requests from people he'd never met. Messages from old classmates who hadn't spoken to him in years. Interview requests from news outlets and podcasts. Marcus called it 7 a.m. "Don't respond to anything without running it past Amanda first. She's handling your media now." "I don't need media handling." "Jack, you've got 400,000 views on the video of your speech. You need media handling." Monday morning, Jack arrived at Catherine's office exactly at 9. She sat behind her desk with newspapers spread across the surface. The city paper's headline read, From construction worker to award-winning architect, the Jack Morrison story. Have you seen this? Hard to miss. Catherine smiled. You're good at this. The authenticity. The straight talk. People respond to it. I just told the truth. Exactly. In a world of corporate speak and political double talk, honesty is revolutionary. She stood and walked to the window. I want to offer you something. A promotion. Senior designer. Your own team. Triple your current salary. Jack's brain stuttered. What? You've earned it. The Fifth Ward project came in on budget and ahead of schedule. The design is getting national attention. You've proven you can lead. Catherine turned to face him. But that's not all. I want to create a new division. Community-focused architecture. Buildings that serve underserved populations. Affordable housing. Community centers. Schools. Projects that prioritize people over profit. And I want you to head it. Jack sat down. His legs forgot how to hold him up. You want me to run a division? Yes. I've been here 6 months. And you've accomplished more than people who've been here 6 years. You see things others miss. You understand what communities actually need because you come from one. Catherine sat on the edge of her desk. I'm not asking you to be something you're not. I'm asking you to be exactly who you are, but with more resources and authority. What if I fail? Then you'll fail upward like everyone else in corporate America. But you won't fail. I've never been more certain of anything. Jack thought about Emma. About the 2-bedroom apartment that was nice but not quite big enough. About the student loans he still carried from his 2 years of community college. About the future he'd stopped imagining because imagination felt like a luxury he couldn't afford. I need to think about it. Catherine nodded. You have 48 hours, but Jack, this is your moment. Don't let fear rob you of it. That night, Jack couldn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Emma snored softly in her room. His phone glowed with unread messages, offers from other firms, speaking invitations, opportunities that would have seemed impossible 6 months ago. Around 2 a.m., he gave up on sleep and walked to the living room, found Emma sitting on the couch in her pajamas. Can't sleep either. She shook her head. I heard you pacing. Jack sat beside her. Sorry, didn't mean to wake you. What's bothering you? Catherine offered me a big promotion, more money, more responsibility, my own team. That's good, right? I don't know. What if I'm not ready? What if I screw it up? Emma pulled her knees to her chest. Remember when I didn't want to try gymnastics because I was scared I'd be bad at it? Yeah. And you said I'd never know unless I tried. That being scared wasn't a reason to not do something. Jack smiled. You're using my own advice against me. That's what daughters do. It's in the job description. Emma leaned against him. Take the promotion, Daddy. You're ready. You just don't believe it yet. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just keep asking the same question. Jack hugged her, felt her warmth and her certainty and her absolute faith that he could do anything. It was humbling and terrifying, and exactly what he needed. Tuesday morning, he walked into Catherine's office at 8 a.m. I'll take it. The promotion, the division, all of it. Catherine grinned. Smart man. Welcome to senior leadership. Try not to let the executive bathroom go to your head. There's an executive bathroom. There's a lot of things you're about to discover, starting with your new office on the 37th floor. The office had windows on 2 walls and space for a drafting table and a view that made Jack dizzy. Amanda appeared with a box of business cards. Jack Morrison, Senior Designer, Head of Community Architecture Division. Rolls right off the tongue. Jack stared at the cards. His name, his title, proof that this was real. I need to hire a team. Already started the search. I've got 20 applications from designers who want to work on community projects. We'll start interviews next week. Amanda pulled out a tablet. Also, you're speaking at the National Architecture Conference in April. It's in Chicago. 2-day trip. We'll cover everything. I can't leave Emma for 2 days. Bring her. Sterling pays for family travel on business trips. It's company policy. Jack realized something fundamental had shifted. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was building. Not just buildings, but a life. A career. A future that looked nothing like the one he'd imagined 6 months ago. His first act as division head was hiring. He interviewed 30 candidates. Most had impressive degrees and portfolios full of expensive projects. They talked about sustainable design and LEED certification and biophilic integration. All good words, all missing the point. Then Rosa Martinez walked in. 42 years old, architecture degree from state school, 15 years working for a nonprofit that built low-income housing. Portfolio full of simple, elegant projects that prioritized function over flash. Why do you want this job? Rosa leaned forward. Because I'm tired of designing buildings that make architects famous, but don't serve the people who use them. I want to build things that matter, things that change lives instead of just winning awards. Jack hired her on the spot, then hired 3 more designers with similar backgrounds. People who'd worked in communities, who understood that architecture wasn't about ego, it was about service. The team's first project came from an unexpected source. The city wanted to redevelop a neighborhood where a factory had closed, leaving 200 families without income. The mayor's office requested proposals for affordable workforce housing. Jack gathered his new team in the conference room, spread out the site plans. 200 units. Families need work-live spaces. Budget is tight. Timeline is tighter. City wants maximum density. We're going to give them something better. Rosa studied the plans. What if we mixed residential with commercial ground floor retail and maker spaces? Upper floors housing. Creates jobs and homes in one building. That's over the budget. Not if we simplify the design. Modular construction. Prefab elements. Cut the fancy finishes but keep the good bones. Jack smiled. This was why he'd hired her. Draw it up. We present to the city in 3 weeks. They worked 18-hour days. The design came together like a puzzle. Workforce housing that didn't look like housing projects. Maker spaces where the laid-off factory workers could start small businesses. Community gardens on rooftops. Childcare on the ground floor. Everything integrated so residents didn't have to leave the neighborhood to find work or services. Emma started staying late at the office with Jack. Did her homework in the conference room while Jack's team sketched and debated and refined. She became the project's unofficial mascot. The team asked her opinion on playground equipment and paint colors. Emma took it seriously. The playground needs more shade. Kids get hot. Rosa looked at Jack. She's right. They added shade structures. Emma beamed. The city presentation was scheduled for a Friday. Jack woke up that morning with a stomachache and the certainty they were going to fail. The design was too ambitious, too different from what the city expected. They'd laugh him out of the room. Catherine called while he was driving to work. Nervous. How'd you know? Because I know you, and I know this design is going to blow their minds. Trust your vision. The city council chambers were packed. Other firms presented first. Traditional apartment complexes. Efficient but soulless. Maximum density with minimum imagination. Then Jack's team stood up. He let Rosa present. She was better at it than him. She walked the council through the design with passion and precision. Explained how mixed-use development created economic ecosystems. How modular construction cut costs without cutting quality. How community input had shaped every decision. The council asked hard questions. Jack fielded them. Talked about construction timelines and financing structures and maintenance costs. Spoke their language because he'd lived on both sides now. The world of poverty and the world of power. He could translate between them. When they finished, the council chambers were silent. Then the mayor stood. "This is exactly what we needed. When can you start?" Jack's team erupted. Rosa hugged him. The other firms looked stunned. Jack just felt relief and terror in equal measure. They'd just committed to building 200 housing units in 18 months. The biggest project of his career. The biggest opportunity to fail spectacularly. That night, he took Emma and his entire team to dinner. They crowded into a restaurant booth and celebrated with pizza and soda. Rosa raised her glass. "To Jack Morrison, who proved that community architecture isn't charity, it's justice." Everyone drank. Jack felt the weight of expectation. 4 people had joined his team because they believed in his vision. The city was betting millions on his competence. Catherine had staked her reputation on his potential. Emma tugged his sleeve. "You're doing that thing again." "What thing?" "Where you forget to be happy because you're too busy being scared." Jack laughed. "When did you become a therapist?" "I've always been a therapist. You just keep not listening." He picked her up, even though they were in public, and she was getting too old for it. Kissed her forehead. "You're right. I should be happy. We're doing good work." "We're doing great work. Now eat your pizza before it gets cold." The workforce housing project consumed the next year. Jack barely slept. The team worked around the clock. Problems appeared daily. Supply chain issues. Permitting delays. Budget overruns. Every morning Jack woke up wondering if today was the day everything collapsed. But it didn't collapse. The team was too good. Rosa handled the technical challenges. The other designers managed subcontractors and schedules. Jack coordinated everything, keeping all the pieces moving in the same direction. Emma started 4th grade. Made the gymnastics team. Managed her asthma so well, she rarely needed her rescue inhaler. She'd grown 3 inches and developed opinions about everything. Jack couldn't remember the last time he'd heard her wheeze. One night in October, almost a year after the promotion, Jack sat at his drafting table, looking at the workforce housing plans. The buildings were going up, framing complete, systems going in. Another 3 months, and families would start moving in. His phone rang. Unknown number. Jack almost didn't answer. "Is this Jack Morrison?" "Yes." "This is the MacArthur Foundation. We're calling about the Genius Grant." Jack's brain stuttered. "I think you have the wrong number. You're Jack Morrison, senior designer at Sterling Industries, lead architect on the 5th Ward Community Center and the East Side Workforce Housing Project." "Yes, but..." "Then we have the right number. Congratulations, Mr. Morrison. You've been selected as a MacArthur Fellow. The award comes with $625,000 over 5 years. No strings attached." Jack dropped his pencil. "This is a joke." "It's not a joke. We'll be announcing publicly next week. We wanted to notify you first. A representative will contact you with details." They hung up. Jack sat in silence. $625,000. For what? For doing his job. For building buildings that served people instead of exploited them. Emma appeared in the doorway. "Who was that?" "I have no idea." "You're crying." Jack touched his face. She was right. "Someone just told me I won an award. A big one. It comes with money." "How much money?" "Enough to pay for college. Yours and mine." Emma ran to him, threw her arms around his neck. "See, I told you. You're doing great work." Jack held his daughter and let himself feel it. Pride. Accomplishment. The knowledge that he'd taken the broken pieces of his life and built something beautiful. Not just buildings, but a future. A legacy. Proof that second chances were real if someone cared enough to offer them. The MacArthur announcement hit the news the following Tuesday. Jack's phone exploded with calls and messages before he'd finished his morning coffee. News vans appeared outside Sterling Industries. Reporters wanted interviews. Architecture magazines wanted profiles. Emma's school called to say journalists were trying to get onto campus. Catherine summoned him to her office at 7 a.m. She stood by the window holding a newspaper with his face on the front page. "Congratulations. You're officially famous." Jack slumped into a chair. "I don't want to be famous. I want to build buildings." "Too late. You're the face of community architecture now. The proof that the American dream isn't dead. The single dad who saved a CEO and changed his life." Catherine sat across from him. "How does it feel?" "Terrifying. Like I'm wearing someone else's skin." "Get comfortable in it. Because we're about to leverage this attention into something bigger." She pulled out a folder. "I've been working on an idea, a foundation, the Morrison Foundation, scholarships for working people who want to finish their degrees. People like you were 2 years ago. People with talent but no resources." Jack's chest tightened. "You want to name it after me?" "It's your story, your journey. You're the inspiration." Catherine leaned forward. "I'll fund it. Sterling Industries will match contributions. But I want you to be the face of it. To show people that education isn't just for kids fresh out of high school. That it's never too late to chase what you're capable of." "I don't know what to say." "Say yes. Say you'll help me turn your second chance into thousands of second chances for other people." Jack thought about the night he'd called Catherine from his tiny apartment. The fear and hope warring in his chest. The way Emma had looked at him with absolute faith that he could do this. How different his life was now because one person had believed in him. "Yes. Let's do it." Catherine smiled. "Good. We launch in 3 months. Which gives you exactly enough time to finish the workforce housing project and prepare for the media circus that's about to become your life." The workforce housing project reached completion in December. The building stood gleaming and warm against winter cold. 200 families moved in over 3 weeks. Jack walked through the units with clipboard and camera documenting issues, talking to residents, watching his designs become homes. Mrs. Chen, his old neighbor from the apartment building, found him in one of the ground floor maker spaces. "Jack Morrison, look at you, all fancy now." He hugged her. "Mrs. Chen, what are you doing here?" "I live here now, Unit 304. Got laid off from the factory 6 months ago. Applied for housing. Didn't know it was your project until I saw your name on the paperwork." Her eyes went wet. "You saved my life. This place, these maker spaces, I'm starting a sewing business. Already got 3 orders." Jack couldn't speak. This was why he did this work, not for awards or recognition. For moments like this. For Mrs. Chen starting over at 62. For families having stable homes. For communities rebuilding themselves one opportunity at a time. Emma's school held a special assembly in January. They'd asked Jack to speak about the MacArthur grant. He stood in front of 300 kids and felt like an imposter all over again. "I'm not here to tell you I'm special. I'm here to tell you I got lucky. Someone gave me a chance when I needed it most. But here's the thing about luck. You have to be ready when it shows up. You have to work hard even when no one's watching. You have to believe you're worth investing in even when the world says otherwise." A kid in the front row raised his hand. "How did you know you were good at architecture?" "I didn't. I just knew I loved it. And sometimes love is enough to start with. The skill comes from practice, from failing and trying again, from caring more about the work than about being perfect." Emma sat in the audience beaming. After the assembly, her friends mobbed Jack for autographs. He signed notebooks and backpacks, feeling ridiculous and grateful in equal measure. That night, Emma did homework at the kitchen table, while Jack reviewed foundation documents. Catherine had assembled a board, set up funding streams, created application processes. The Morrison Foundation would launch in March with enough money to support 50 scholarships the first year. "Daddy, I wrote an essay about you for English class." Jack looked up. "Yeah, what did you say?" "That you're a hero, not because you saved someone from a landslide, because you didn't give up when things got hard, because you kept being a good dad, even when you were scared and tired and broke." Jack's throat closed. "Can I read it?" Emma handed him 3 handwritten pages. Jack read them twice. She'd documented their story with brutal honesty. The space heater that barely worked, the 2 small pajamas, the nights he'd sat up counting money that never stretched far enough. But also, the love, the sacrifice, the way he'd never let her see how close they were to drowning. "This is beautiful, baby. I got an A. Mrs. Patterson said it was the best essay in the class." Emma went back to her math homework. "She also said you should write a book. Tell your whole story. I think she's right. Nobody wants to read about a construction worker who got lucky." "You keep saying that. But you weren't lucky. You were ready. That's different." The Morrison Foundation launched on a cold March morning. Press conference, media coverage, Catherine announcing the first 50 scholarship recipients. Jack stood beside her feeling like he'd stumbled into someone else's life. One of the recipients was a woman named Jennifer, 46 years old, 3 kids, working 2 jobs, trying to finish a nursing degree she'd started 20 years ago. She approached Jack after the ceremony. "Thank you. You'll never know what this means." "I think I do. I was you 2 years ago." "Then you know. You know what it's like to work all day and study all night and still feel like you're failing at everything. This scholarship, it's not just money. It's someone saying you matter. Your dreams matter." Jennifer wiped her eyes. "I won't let you down. You won't let yourself down. That's what matters." Jack watched her walk away and felt the weight of responsibility. 50 people were counting on this foundation, on his story inspiring their own, on proof that the climb was possible if someone threw you a rope. The Workforce Housing Project won awards, national recognition, Architecture magazine covers. Jack's team celebrated, but he felt disconnected from the acclaim. The buildings weren't about awards. They were about Mrs. Chen sewing in her makerspace, about families having stable homes, about dignity and possibility. Rosa found him one afternoon staring at the latest magazine feature. "You okay?" "I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm watching my life happen to someone else." Imposter syndrome. Classic. You think you don't deserve this. "Do I?" Rosa sat down. "Jack, I've worked with architects who designed buildings to make themselves famous, to win awards and impress their peers. You design buildings to serve people, to solve problems, to create opportunities. That's rarer than you think. And it's exactly why you deserve every bit of recognition you're getting." "What if I can't sustain it? What if this was just beginner's luck?" "Then you'll fail and learn and try again, like everyone else. But stop waiting for someone to expose you as a fraud. You're not a fraud. You're just a guy who got a chance and ran with it. Own that." April brought the National Architecture Conference. Jack flew to Chicago with Emma. She'd never been on a plane before, pressed her face to the window during takeoff and squealed, "Daddy, we're flying. We're actually flying." Jack's keynote speech was scheduled for the second day. 2,000 architects in the audience. Jack spent the night before pacing the hotel room, rewriting notes convinced he'd forget how to speak English the moment he stepped on stage. Emma watched him from the bed. "You're spiraling." "I'm preparing." "You're panicking. There's a difference." She patted the bed beside her. "Come here." Jack sat. Emma took his notes and set them aside. "Tell me what you're going to say." "I don't know. Something about community architecture, about designing for people instead of profit." "That's boring. Tell them the truth." "What truth?" "That you were poor and scared and everyone told you you couldn't do this. But you did it anyway. Tell them that architecture isn't about fancy degrees. It's about caring, about seeing people as human beings instead of problems to solve." Emma squeezed his hand. "Tell them your story, the real one, not the polished version." The next morning, Jack stood backstage listening to his introduction. MacArthur Fellow, award-winning designer, rising star of community architecture, words that described someone he barely recognized. He walked on stage, 2,000 faces, bright lights. His prepared speech sat in his pocket, but he didn't reach for it. "I'm Jack Morrison. 2 years ago I was pouring concrete for $19 an hour. I had an incomplete degree and a daughter with asthma and a future that looked exactly like my past. Then a mountain fell, and everything changed. He told them about the landslide, about Catherine Sterling, about showing up to Sterling Industries in a borrowed shirt and clip-on tie, about the Fifth Ward Community Center and the workforce housing, and every moment he'd felt like an imposter pretending to belong. I'm not here to tell you that hard work and determination are enough. They're not. I'm here to tell you that I got lucky. Someone with power chose to use it to lift me up instead of keep me down. And that's the uncomfortable truth about success. Most of it is circumstance. Being in the right place when someone decides to open a door. The audience shifted. This wasn't the inspirational speech they'd expected. But here's what I can control. I can choose what I do with that luck. I can design buildings that serve instead of extract. I can mentor young architects who don't have fancy degrees. I can use my platform to advocate for the people who built the buildings I now design. Jack's voice hardened with emotion. Architecture is political. Every decision about who gets beauty and who gets function is political. And I'm choosing to build for the people who usually get neither. The applause started slow, then built. Jack walked off stage shaking. Emma met him backstage and hugged him. You told the truth. I'm so proud of you. Catherine appeared behind her. That was the most radical speech this conference has heard in 20 years. Well done. I think I just alienated half the architecture profession. The half that needed alienating. The other half is about to blow up your email with job offers and collaboration requests. She was right. By the time Jack got back to his hotel room, his inbox had exploded. Firms wanting to partner, universities wanting him to teach, cities requesting proposals. The speech video went viral. Architecture students shared it with captions like, "Finally someone said it." But there was also backlash. Anonymous comments calling him ungrateful. Articles questioning whether he deserved the MacArthur grant. Architects claiming he was oversimplifying complex issues. Jack read them all and felt the familiar imposter syndrome creeping back. Marcus called that night. Stop reading the comments. How'd you know I was reading the comments? Because I know you, and because I did the same thing when I started getting attention. Here's what you need to understand. The people criticizing you are threatened. You're disrupting their comfortable narrative that success comes from the right school and the right connections. You're proof that talent matters more than pedigree. That scares them. What if they're right? What if I am oversimplifying? Then you'll learn and evolve. But don't apologize for speaking truth. Don't make yourself smaller because it makes other people comfortable. The foundation's first year exceeded expectations. All 50 scholarship recipients stayed enrolled. 22 completed their degrees. The others were on track. Jennifer, the nursing student, graduated in May. Sent Jack a photo of herself in cap and gown with her 3 kids. Because of you, I'm a nurse. Because of you, my kids see that it's never too late to chase your dreams. Thank you for believing in people like me. Jack printed the photo and put it on his office wall. Started a collection. Faces of people the foundation had helped. Reminders of why this work mattered. Emma turned 9 in June. They celebrated with gymnastics teammates and pizza and a cake shaped like a balance beam. She'd grown confident and strong. Her asthma was so well controlled she rarely thought about it. Jack watched her laugh with friends and felt gratitude so intense it hurt. Later, after everyone left, Emma found him cleaning up paper plates. This was the best birthday ever. Yeah, why's that? Because I got to have it in our home, the real one, not the apartment with the broken heater, not the place where we had to be quiet because the neighbors complained. Our home. She hugged him. You did that, Daddy. You built us a life. Jack held his daughter and let himself feel it. The journey from that storm-drenched mountain road to this moment. The terror and hope and work and luck that had carried them here. The woman in the landslide who'd become his unlikely savior. The community centers and housing projects that bore his name. The foundation helping people climb the same mountain he'd climbed. Catherine called in July. "I have a proposal. I want to expand the foundation nationally, partner with corporations and universities, scale it to 500 scholarships within 3 years." That's ambitious. That's necessary. You proved the model works. Now we scale it. But I need your commitment. This becomes your primary focus. You'll still design buildings, but the foundation becomes your legacy. Jack looked at the photos on his wall. Jennifer in her nursing scrubs. Mrs. Chen at her sewing machine. A young man who'd finished his engineering degree and now worked at Sterling Industries. Faces of second chances. What do you need from me? Everything. Your story, your time, your willingness to be uncomfortable. We're going to ask you to speak and travel and be the face of this work. It's going to be hard, but it's going to change thousands of lives. When do we start? We already have. I'm announcing the expansion tomorrow. You're giving the keynote at the press conference. Jack laughed. Of course I am. The expansion launched with massive media coverage. Corporate sponsors lined up. Universities pledged matching funds. The foundation's reach grew exponentially. Jack found himself on planes 3 days a week, speaking at conferences, meeting with donors, telling his story until it felt worn smooth from repetition. But the work mattered. The impact was real. By year 2, the foundation had helped 300 people finish degrees, created pathways for working adults to access education, proved that age and circumstance weren't barriers if someone removed the obstacles. Emma started 5th grade, made honor roll, qualified for regional gymnastics competitions, became the kind of kid who assumed she could do anything because she'd watched her father do the impossible. Jack's greatest fear wasn't that he'd fail. It was that he'd taught Emma to believe the world was kinder than it actually was. One night in September, 3 years after the landslide, Jack stood at the completed East Side Workforce Housing Complex with Catherine. Lights glowed in 200 windows, families cooking dinner, kids doing homework. Mrs. Chen's sewing business had expanded to employ 5 other residents. The ground floor maker spaces hummed with small enterprises. You did this. Jack shook his head. We did this. You funded it. Believed in it when no one else would have. I wrote checks. You created the vision. You fought for every detail. You proved that housing doesn't have to choose between affordable and beautiful. That architecture can be an act of justice. Catherine's voice got quiet. That day on the mountain when you pulled me out of that landslide, I was on my way to fire 300 people. Good people. To boost stock prices by 2%. I was so deep in that world, I'd forgotten what it meant to be human. You remembered. Because you showed me. Because in that moment, I saw what real character looks like. What it means to run toward problems instead of calculate the cost of solving them. Catherine turned to face him. This foundation, these buildings, none of it happens if you drive past that landslide. If you choose safety over sacrifice. I didn't think about it. Just saw someone who needed help. Exactly. That's who you are. The man who doesn't think. Who just does what's right because it's right. That quality is rarer than you know. And it's why this work matters. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the buildings they'd built together. Not just structures of concrete and steel, but promises kept. Opportunities given. Lives changed. Jack's phone buzzed. Emma. Daddy. When are you coming home? I made dinner. Well, I ordered pizza. Same thing. On my way, baby? He drove home through city streets, lit with possibility. Parked outside the house they'd bought 6 months ago. 3 bedrooms. A yard. Emma's gymnastics medals on the wall. Photos of their journey from survival to stability to something resembling success. Emma met him at the door. Pizza's getting cold. Also, I got an A on my history test. Also, Mrs. Chen called and said she wants to hire me to help with social media for her sewing business. Can I say yes? Jack laughed. You're 9 years old. Almost 10. And I'm very mature for my age. Mrs. Patterson said so. Fine, but homework comes first. They ate pizza on the couch. Emma scrolled through her phone showing Jack gymnastics videos. He half listened his mind on the foundation board meeting tomorrow, the expansion plans, the 1,000 details that kept him awake at night. You're not listening. Jack looked at his daughter. Sorry, just thinking about work. You're always thinking about work. That's good, but also you should think about now sometimes. Emma put down her phone. Like right now. We're eating pizza and hanging out, and this is a good moment. You should be in it. When did you become a philosopher? I've always been a philosopher. You just keep not noticing. Jack pulled her into a hug, breathed in her shampoo smell and her confidence and her absolute certainty that everything would work out. She'd never known the fear that had defined his life for so long. Never understood what it meant to choose between food and electricity. And that was his greatest accomplishment. Not the buildings or the awards or the foundation. But this. His daughter believing the world was safe because he'd made it so. The foundation's 3rd anniversary came in November. They'd helped over 1,000 people finish degrees, changed families, created opportunities that rippled outward in ways Jack couldn't measure. The board wanted to throw a gala, celebrate the success. Jack wanted to hide in his office and design buildings. Catherine insisted. This isn't about you. It's about showing donors their investment matters, about giving scholarship recipients a chance to celebrate, about proving that this work changes lives. The gala was everything Jack hated. Fancy clothes, small talk, mall, people treating him like he was special instead of just lucky. But watching Jennifer walk across the stage to share her nursing story, seeing Mrs. Chen accept an entrepreneurship award, meeting a young man who'd finished his engineering degree and now worked on Jack's team designing community centers, that made it worthwhile. Emma attended in a dress she'd picked out herself, watched her father give a speech about the power of second chances, applauded when Catherine announced the foundation would expand to 2,000 scholarships over the next 5 years. Later in the parking garage, Emma grabbed Jack's hand. Are you happy, Daddy? It was the same question she'd asked years ago in that diner booth. But now the answer was different, more complicated. Happiness felt too simple for what Jack felt. Gratitude, purpose, the weight of responsibility, and the lightness of meaning. I'm grateful. Is that the same as happy? Close enough? Emma squeezed his hand. You know what I'm proud of. What? That you didn't just take what Catherine gave you and keep it for yourself. You turned it into something bigger, something that helps other people. That's what heroes do. I'm not a hero, baby. I'm just a guy who got lucky and tried to pay it forward. No. You're a guy who got a chance and made sure other people got chances too. That's different. That's better. They drove home through city streets Jack had helped shape. Community centers bearing his name. Housing projects that prioritized dignity. Buildings that served instead of extracted. His hands on the steering wheel were the same hands that had mixed concrete and pulled Catherine Sterling from a landslide. But now they designed futures instead of just surviving presents. Emma fell asleep in the passenger seat. Jack carried her inside and tucked her into bed. She stirred. Love you, Daddy. Love you too, baby. More than anything. He stood in her doorway watching her breathe. Each inhale and exhale a small miracle. Emma was healthy, safe, confident in ways Jack had never been. She believed in herself because he'd believed in her. Because he'd shown her that circumstances didn't define destiny. That hard work and luck and someone caring could change everything. Jack walked to his home office. The one with the drafting table and the wall of photos. Faces of people the foundation had helped. Buildings he'd designed. Emma's artwork from when she was little. A framed newspaper clipping from that first ribbon-cutting ceremony. His phone glowed with an email. A woman in Seattle. single mother, working full-time, trying to finish her teaching degree, asking if the foundation could help. Jack started typing. Yes, we can help. That's what we're here for. Send us your application. Your story matters. You matter. He hit send and felt it. The purpose that had eluded him for so long. The knowledge that his life meant something beyond survival. That the mountain falling 3 years ago hadn't been a disaster. It had been a doorway, an invitation to become more than he'd imagined possible. Outside the city hummed with its million stories. Jack's was just one. But it was his, and for the first time in his life, that felt like enough, more than enough. It felt like exactly what it was supposed to be. A second chance earned and shared. A foundation built not on concrete and steel, but on hope and possibility, and the radical idea that everyone deserves beauty and dignity, and someone believing they're worth the investment. Jack Morrison closed his laptop and went to bed. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new people to help, new buildings to design. But tonight, he was just a father in a warm house with a daughter who believed in him. And that he realized was the greatest architecture of all. The life you build when someone gives you the tools and you refuse to waste them.